The second portion of Bach's Prelude in C is going to have our first octave position in the right hand. We're going to be using keys A, E, A. Because the hand naturally has an opening between fingers 1 and 2, and because it often feels good to have the other fingers pretty close to each other, play your octave chord with fingers 1, 3, and 5. If you play with finger 2, I really just don't see the point. To me, this feels like too much of a stretch between finger 1 and 2, and these fingers are crammed together pointlessly when there could be a pretty easy opening between 5 and 4. The first 4 positions and chords of the right hand could be enough for us to learn today. Here is the sound of them, broken up as it's written on the paper. Of course, you should totally play these as blocks so that you learned your hand positions. You hear the harmonic sound. And you give yourself time to think about what you're doing and time for the non-playing fingers to relax and sit back down on their keys that they're not sounding. This is an A minor chord. It becomes very clear that it's an A minor chord once you know your music theory and once you add the left-hand notes in. I'll play it again as written, and I'll talk about the fingers a little bit as we go. We begin with A minor chord, and we play with fingers 1 and 5 because we pretty much always play an octave as fingers 1 and 5. And finger 3 is naturally resting on that position, and it respects the relative expansion possibilities of the space between finger 1 and 2 and the space between finger 4 and 5. The next chord is a D major chord. Because we are playing chord shapes and not scales, it is totally fine to play the finger 1 thumb on a black key. It can feel a little bit less comfortable playing finger 1 thumb on a black key if you do something bad like this, where the other fingers, the long fingers, are afraid of sliding between black keys or sliding deeper on white keys. So try to make a curved shape of the fingertips, and don't ever try to make your finger go straight across like a ruler from the old piano books from 1820 to 1850. We don't have to do this. This leads to a lot of useless co-contraction and muscular tension and increases the chance of repetitive stress injuries. We don't need to play that way. You place your thumb on the edge of the black key, not deeper, but on the edge, and then the other fingers naturally are taught to be placed deep between the black keys and deep on the white keys. I've seen this area between the black keys referred to as the gray area. Don't be afraid of playing deep in the gray area if your thumb is playing on a black key. Because there is an easy opening between finger 1 and 2, and because the interval of the middle note to the outer note is a fourth, the other 4 fingers just rest on adjacent keys, and we're going to use finger 2 as our middle note. Finger 3 would not leverage the natural gap between finger 1 and 2, and it would result in a useless stretch between other fingers that don't need to do that. The third chord will be our octave G. Octaves usually played with finger 1 and 5, and finger 3 naturally rests on the 5th of the chord. And then we're going to move to our C major chord. This is called a first inversion because instead of having C on the bottom, it has E on the bottom, so it's called a first inversion chord. Because there's the interval of a fourth between the middle note of the chord and the outer note, we are going to be playing finger 2 and 5 not this ridiculousness. Learn to love the opening between finger 1